Okay, great guys. Today, we're so happy to have, we've done a lot of these webinars where we've asked for tactics and tips on FSBOs and expireds, but we really haven't done anything on motivation. And I'm really excited today to have Bruce Keith on our show. And I met Bruce at a conference, oh gosh, quite some time ago. And he is he does sales training. He's going to go into detail on what he, where he started in the sales and coaching industry. I'm going to let him share that. But I was really impressed with Bruce, and I wanted to have him on. I reached out to him and said, hey, can you do some things for people on our show about staying motivated during those tough times? And he said, Gary, let me put some stuff together. Let me gather some of my material. And I'm so glad to have Bruce on the show today. So, Bruce, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in the industry and things like that.
Okay, great. First of all, Gary, thanks for inviting me to do this. We've had a long relationship with sales dialers, and we're a big fan. My clients, a lot of my clients are using sales dialers, so it's just great to be here to be able to share more. So first of all, thanks for inviting me. Secondly, to answer your question, as most people will be able to see when they look at the screen, I've got a few miles on me, so I've been in sales for a while, okay? And I started out the first 15 years in sales, I was with IBM. And IBM is a huge organization, as we all know, but what it did for me more than anything else was teach me the basics of selling, because I was a salesman, sales manager, et cetera, and I learned a tremendous amount about running businesses, about selling, and for that 15 years, it was invaluable. I would never trade it for anything. After that, for the last 30-odd years, I've been, the next 10, I was in real estate sales with my wife, Gloria, and I, and we were pretty successful. We were selling 100 to 125 homes a year. And then the last almost 20 years has been sales training and coaching, seminars, one-on-one coaching, everything like that. So what I focus on primarily is teaching people how to sell and how to deal with the ups and downs and the mindset that comes with, the adversity we run into. Because if you don't get a lot of rejection, as you know, Jeepers, you're in the same business as I am. If you don't get rejection, you're not going to make any sales. So how do we deal with that? And that's how we stay mentally motivated. Does that make sense?
Now, hang on. That was awesome what you just said. And I want to just back up because I've never heard anybody say that before. If you don't get rejection, you don't get sales. Is that right?
Well, absolutely. It's, not to make it too pedantic, but it is a numbers game. If I talk to 100 people and I get rejected by 98 of them, then I'm going to get 2 sales. If I only talk to 50 people, I might get rejected by 49 of them, then only get 1 sale. Pretty straightforward.
It's really amazing. People think when, in the sales business, you have, and then nobody said it the way you have, and I found that fascinating. You have to have rejection to get sales. It's almost like the rejection has to come first before the sales. Like you said it that way. And that is just fascinating. Some people go through it and expect it's going to be all great. I'm going to just sell so many houses. I'm going to close so many policies. It's going to be this. I'm going to just kill it. But that's not realistic, is it?
No, and at the same time, part of the problem we run into in sales, just think of this for a second, because everybody on this call will have gone through this. What happens initially, it's almost like we're on a honeymoon and everything's great. And we get a couple of deals and our brother-in-law decides to buy insurance from us, or he buys our house or whatever. And we think, oh, this is easy. And then the honeymoon's over and the reality hits and it's like, oh, so you mean to tell me that sometimes it's not going to be quite as simple as that? That's right. Duh. So, and that's where the need for mental toughness kicks in. And how do I stay motivated to get past that? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That makes so much sense. Now, before we dig deep into some tips that you're going to share, tell us really quick about who you're coaching now, what types of markets you coach, in case people want to reach out at the end of the webinar. What types of people or companies are you coaching right now?
Well, anybody that's selling something, I mean, you could say, well, what does that mean? Well, it could be anything from real estate to I work with insurance brokers and insurance agents that are marketing and selling to the public. I work with investment consultants like money managers. I work with, for example, I work with a company. This is amazing. I work with a company who markets to dentists. So what they do is they sell marketing programs to dentists all over North America. And that's my marketplace is North America anyway, just to answer that part of it. And this company, they are incredible. And what we've done is we've worked with helping them handle objections, how to make great presentations, how to ask for the order, and how to get past rejection and move on. So there's three examples of 3 or 4 examples of the types of people. But if someone is selling something, we put a program together to help them sell more and have fun doing it.
That's awesome. I know that you're in the real estate agents are your clients. I knew some insurance clients, but that dental thing is really fascinating. So, we're just so happy to have you on the show. Let's dig in.
Hey, Gary, one more. I'll just give you a real off-the-wall example. I was buying suits from this particular guy in Toronto, and he quit where he was. He'd been 30 years in retail, and he went into direct sales, meaning going door to door, sort of, to offices, and he built up this business where he's selling door to door to executives in their offices. So he phoned me one day and he said, could you help me? And I said, yeah, tell me what you're doing. So he said, well, and so this in a nutshell, I just thought everybody would enjoy this little story. He said, I was in retail for 30 years. I was used to people coming into my store to see me. Now I'm going out. I'm in direct sales. He says, I'm not used to that. I don't know how to handle a rejection. So we put together a program. So just goes to show everybody runs into it.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we run into rejection not only in business, but in our personal lives. I mean, we run into rejection all the time. And what we're going to learn today is how to handle that rejection and bounce back. And, that's what we have to do in life, in our personal lives. That's what we have to do in our business lives as well, right?
Exactly. And it's interesting you'd say that, because what we're going to talk about today, some of these tips that I'm going to pass on, you and I are going to chat about, those issues, they're not business. They're 100% of the day and the night, not just business.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's dig in. What should an agent do or somebody selling on a day-by-day basis to stay motivated? What should they do? Give us some tips.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to set the stage for everybody. And if anybody's taking notes, I would suggest just write down these 3 words: the 90% factor. So when I'm talking to people about mindset and mental toughness and motivation, I always help them understand that there's something called the 90% factor. And the 90% factor, in a nutshell, is that 90%, listen to this, I heard this from somebody years ago, a man that, I don't even remember who it was, but he's a very wise man. He said 90% of selling success is mental toughness, mindset, and motivation. In other words, because we've all seen people in our offices who have been very successful. We look at the sales board, Gary, and we think, how the heck's he doing that? Or how's she doing that? She doesn't even know what she's talking about. We sort of have this story in our head. Well, I'll tell you that they have figured out the 90% factor and how to realize that mindset and mental toughness is what's going to make the difference. And then they can go and do their thing.
Right.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, absolutely. So mindset and mental toughness. How do we get there? It's a 90% issue. So now let me give you some ideas on how to take advantage of the 90% factor. Okay? Let's do it.
Okay. So I made up a list. Now I've got a list of about 10 things I have. We're probably not going to get into them all today, and that's okay. That wasn't the intention when you and I decided to do this session together. Because I know that, in working with the people I've worked with at your company, at Sales Dialers, they're wrestling with the same issues every day too. So I made up my little list, and there was 10 items, and the last one, I thought, Bruce, that should be the first one, not the last one. So the very first one that I've got, says, constantly be reminding yourself of why you're doing what you're doing. Constantly be reminding yourself of why you're doing what you're doing. In other words, what's my drive? What's my big why? What's my motivation? So there is a guy by the name that a lot of people, if you want to go on YouTube, you'll find him. He's done some great TED Talks, and he's a fascinating guy. His name is Simon Sinek.
Okay, say that again slower. Yep.
Yeah, Simon, and his last name is Sinek, S-I-N-E-K.
Okay.
S is in Sam, I-N is in Norman, E-K. So he wrote a book. It's probably the best one I've seen on this topic, and I've got a ton of them. And his book is called Start With Why. Well, that sounds so simple. You'd say, well, okay, I got that figured out. Next. Well, no. We have to keep reminding ourselves of what our why is. So a couple of tips on constantly reminding yourself. Everybody knows about dream boards. You should have a dream board up in your office, and I've got mine. We're in the midst of moving right now, so we're kind of up in upheaval. But my dream board is a 2x3 foot cork board that I got at Staples, and it's got all kinds of pictures on it. Everybody knows about that. The question is, are you keeping it current, number one, and number two, are you looking at it every day? Because that'll remind you of your kids. Gary, you and I talked about your family and my family and everything else, and the times we spent at different NAR conferences and stuff. And I know you're very driven by your family. I mean, that's almost 100% of what drives you. Isn't that true?
Absolutely. My family means everything to me, and I want to provide for them, and I want to experience life with them.
Yeah, exactly. So everybody needs to remind themselves. Now, 80%, we know this for a fact, 80% of the population is visually driven. That's why a dream board is so effective. So what I did was I Googled the things I wanted to do and I wanted to see, and I printed out, put them on a stick, and I went into Staples. I know this sounds very fundamental, but I want to show everybody how simple this is. I went into Staples and I said, print out these pictures on 5x7s and then laminate them for me so they don't curl. So they said, yeah, okay. And they printed them all out. I don't know how many there was. They said there was a dozen at the start. And they gave them back to me, and I stuck them all on my dream board. There, I was started. And they're all in colors. You don't have to worry about cutting them out of a travel magazine like we did 20 years ago. Isn't that great?
Yeah, for sure. That is great. Great info.
So there's the dream board. Now, the second thing you need to do is you need to be clear on what your goals are. So I'll show you a technique that I use in a second here, but for everybody, when I ask coaching clients, they'll say, so, okay, what drives you? What's your why? What's your motivation? They oftentimes say, oh, I know what they are. And I said, okay, where are they written down? No, they're in my head. And I said, that's not good enough. I want you to write them down. And they said, oh, okay. So here's 3 categories. So if everybody would do this just to get themselves started, if they don't have them written down, by the way, only 93% of the population doesn't have written goals. They think they do, but they don't. Only 7% have written them down. Okay, so you write down, now here's 3 categories you could get started with. One would be, so everybody should write down, number 1, my health. Number 2 would be my family. And number 3 would be my financial future. So Gary, you and I talked about that. If everybody took those 3 categories, because those are the 3 fundamentals, and wrote down 2 things that they want to have happen, they will end up with 6 dynamite goals that would answer the question, why am I doing this? Why am I getting beat up so much today, but I'm still going on?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me take that one step further, and then we'll move on to another point. I'm going to hold something up here. This is a little journal that I have. You can see I bought it at Staples. I left the sticker on because it's a newer one. I just started this one again. Did I do this every day? So I write out my goals, Gary, every single day, day after day after day. So for example, you won't be able to read it, but right up here is today, September 5th, and there's my goals. And they came from my health, my family, and my financial future. And I write them out every single day, so I never forget. There's a good starting point for everybody. That's how you stay motivated.
That is cool. So what you're telling me is that you have those in front of you throughout your day, your goals as far as your written goals written down, then you have your dream board. And if you
Yep.
have rejection, or if you have a bad phone call, or you lose a sale, you just keep thinking about those goals and keep thinking about that board, visually that board, right? And you're saying that
Right.
helped the person get through some of that adversity.
Well, I listen to and I watch a guy every day. One of the people I'm going to say later. One of the points I'm going to make with everybody is you got to fill your tank up every day. So one of the guys that I use to fill my tank up every day to keep me pumped is a guy by the name of Darren Hardy, Hardy. He's the former publisher of Success Magazine, and he has a video blog that he does every day on something called darrendaily.com. So anybody can sign up for it, DARREN daily.com. And the other day he had something about, he said, you decide one way or the other. That was the heading. And it was only 3 minutes long. And basically what he said was, you have to make decisions all day long. Do I make the phone calls or do I stop making phone calls because somebody was mean to me? To heck with this, I'm going to get a nice cream cone. He said, you have to pay the price every day, whether you're going to pay the price of success by making another phone call or asking for the order or following up with that tough customer, or pay the price of failure. It was that simple. Pay the price of success or pay the price of failure, but you're going to pay a price either way. So make up your mind.
That's great. You're going to pay a price every day. You get to decide which one it is.
There you go. So so when you think about your personal goals, you'd say, okay, I'm saving $1,000 a month for my kids' university college education. Great. Isn't that marvelous? I feel so good about myself. Okay. And then all of a sudden, 2 deals fall apart. You're calling on a large company to do a group policy for insurance for them, and it's all set to go, and all of a sudden it falls apart because they go with their brother-in-law who's working for some Mickey Mouse place, but you can't do anything about it, right?
Right.
Or a house deal falls apart right at the end. Anyway, you have to say, okay, am I gonna roll around and feel sorry for myself, or am I gonna suck it up and say, well, hold it. There's no $1,000 going in the bank for my daughter's education this month if I don't get on the phone again right now. Right? That's it. So you have to decide. So there's the second one. Understand. So the first one is to make sure that you understand your why and you write your goals out every day. Number 2 is understand you're 100% responsible. You are in charge.
Right. Right.
So people say that, go ahead, Gary, sorry.
Oh, no, that was great. That's great info. Please keep going.
Well, I get excited here because I think, all right, this is so straightforward. So the thing you have to think about, everybody, is, okay, if I'm 100% responsible, I'm not responsible for that guy that hung up on me. It wasn't my fault. No. But here's point number 3. Point number 3 is understand this equation. Actually, there's 2 equations, but the first one, write it down, everybody, is E plus R equals O. E plus R equals O. Now, I stole this from Jack Canfield. Gary, I guess we steal everything, right? I stole this from Jack Canfield, and what he said was, E is event. In other words, the things that happen in our lives, like we lost a deal that it wasn't our fault. R is response, and O is outcome. So E, event, plus R, response, equals the outcome. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, I'm writing it down.
Okay. Now, there's only one item in there. Forgive me, Gary, I'm treating you like I'm doing a seminar on you here. But if I was doing a seminar, I'd say to the audience, okay, what is the one item that we have control over for those 3 things? And it's only your response. Everything else you have no control over, right?
Right, absolutely.
So how do we respond when things get tough? And by the way, let's not paint the picture totally black. How do we respond when we do 3 deals in a row and we feel fantastic? Do we then go to the beach, or do we stay on our schedule? There's the there's the complacency side. And I can remember, Gary, when you and I done so much work together, I can remember the story you told me about the guy that was doing so good with your dialer and making his contacts day after day after day. Then he got some great results and he stopped dialing.
Right. People become complacent, they become lazy, and
Yep.
and they want to, it seems like they only work whenever, it seems like a lot of people only work whenever the piggy bank is empty.
Right. Now, here's the fascinating thing, is that the real trick there, people say, is, well, that requires a lot of self-discipline, because for crying out loud, I've been working so hard, I deserve a break. So I'm going to give you 2 points back to back.
Yes.
The first one is that you need to make sure you schedule time off. So Gary, when you go out in your cruiser, when you guys and your family goes out and you take, you go for a voyage, that's taking time off. You need that time to refill your tank, right?
Right.
So that doesn't mean that you're being lazy. That just means, everybody, that you should build it into your schedule. So in other words, plan time off. Don't just take it off because you feel like it. That's not running your life with control.
Okay.
So there's the first part.
Okay.
Schedule your time off.
So I just want to touch on that. So you're telling us that you should schedule your time off on your calendar just like you would like an appointment, because that keeps you focused, correct?
Thank you. So there should be, you're exactly right. And let me tell everybody how to do that. Whatever kind of a day timer you use, you should be blocking off a minimum of 1 to 1.5 days a week. So they put a big X through it. I'm not working that day. Oh, I know, Bruce, but I might lose business. Well, what I tell people that I coach is you will lose a lot more business because you got burned out than you will because you took time off and maybe lost one deal. Because 7 days a week, you get useless and you get crabby. Your mental toughness goes way down and you're not motivated. So that's the first part. So it should be marked down. Short-term days off should always be marked down. And sometimes people say, well, I can't, it's tough for me to do business that way, Bruce. I say, okay, then every Sunday, mark off the day you're going to take off next week. So that would be no excuses there, right?
Right.
Okay, now the long term, everybody, so I've already got you going to Staples. I've already got you going to Staples to get some pictures for your dream board. And I've got you going to Staples for your goals book. Well, here's a third reason to go to Staples. Get one of those year-at-a-glance calendars. Now, I can't show you one because it's in my office and I'm not there because we're moving, but it's 2 feet by 3 feet, the same as the cork board for your dream board. And it's a year-at-a-glance calendar. It's got a whole year on it. So, Gary, it's everything from January to December for a whole year. And what you should, it's dry erasable, 2 feet by 3 feet again, and you put on there, when am I going to take vacation? So, for example, we've got a week coming up for Thanksgiving in November. And so I've got the 7 days marked off that we're taking off the vacation for the time off during the American Thanksgiving. Okay, it's already there. I can look forward to it. I don't say, oh, to heck with it, I'm not going to work. That's a holiday. Everybody knows about it. So that's motivation. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You look forward to it, right?
Absolutely. And that's why, and the other thing is, here's what I've learned in coaching so many people. It's not just me. What I've learned in coaching so many people, I've coached well over 1,500 people one-on-one for an extended period of time. And I will tell you what we've learned is that you become more productive. So think about this phrase, less is more. You will become more productive in 5.5 or 6 days than you will if you work 7 days. It's crazy, but it's true.
I could see that because if you just want, sometimes if you work so much, then some days you're just going through the motions because you're a little tired.
Right.
You're just not giving it your full 100%, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why everybody, if let's say you were prospecting for So I'll pick a number, and don't let me blow everybody away. But let's just say you were prospecting for 3 hours, say from 9 till 12, whatever business you're in, and you were doing your phones, or if you were in real estate, you might be doing door knocking, and people say, well, that's old-fashioned. Hold it. You still got to talk to people. You're in sales. At some point, you got to talk to people. So let's say you were prospecting for 3 hours, 9 to 12. Then you should be taking a break at 10 o'clock for 10 minutes and at 11 o'clock for 10 minutes just to catch your breath. You don't have to, you don't have to go crazy. What you have to do is stay at your best.
So what should they do for those 10 minutes? What should somebody do for those mini breaks? What should they do? Read? I mean, what should they do?
No, they should do anything but think about what they've been doing for the last hour. So they shouldn't be checking emails. They shouldn't be checking texts. They shouldn't be driving themselves crazy with all the other things that are going on. They should go get a coffee. They should stretch, stick their head out the door, go to the washroom, get whatever they want to do, but something that's not productive. So when they get back to work, they'll get right back at it. That's
good. That's good. Sometimes people.
I just thought of something. Sorry for interrupting you. It just occurred to me. They should. It's sort of like when I'm watching CNN and they say, okay, now when we come back, blah 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 blah, and they go to a 5 minute of worth of commercials. We should take a commercial break. How's that?
That's right. Take a commercial break and refocus. I really feel that if you're making a lot of phone calls, you're calling FSBOs expired, you're calling, turning 65s for Medicare appointments or anything like that, you're going to get burned out after so many minutes or hours, where that number might be different for everybody. It might be 50 minutes, it might be an hour, it might be 2 hours, but you're going to come to the point where you're not on your A game. And what you're telling us is that if you take that little break, 10 minutes, don't do anything else, get refreshed, then come back and say, I'm ready to kill it, let's go, and you become rejuvenated, then you're back on that A game. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. And everybody, when I first met Gary and his whole organization and everybody on the team, the first time that we met was at, I think it was I'm thinking it was New Orleans, but it was San Francisco or something. We're at a NAR conference for NAR for real estate. And the key in working those booths is you've got to have really high energy, because when people walk by, think about when you guys are prospecting. When you talk to somebody, they don't know that you've been working at it for 3 hours straight and you could use a break. They're evaluating you on who you are. So when we did those sessions at those conferences, Gary, you were taking breaks. I was taking breaks, because if you didn't do that, you'd end up being, in a rubber room and of no value to anybody that came by the booth, right?
So true, Bruce. Those conferences are brutal sometimes.
Right. Well, it's the same when people are dealing with customers. They have to recognize is that they only get one. I mean, we've all heard this, but you only get one shot at it. It isn't like you can phone somebody up and say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, so say it was real estate, or say it was an investment counselor, and you say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, when I was at your house last night and made my presentation, I wasn't really at my best. I was a little tired. Could I come back today and do it again?
Right.
You can't go back and say, okay, I'm healthy now, I'm going to do it again. You ready? Like, you don't get a shot at that, right?
Right. Yeah. I'd like to hear that call go through, trying to rebook that appointment, huh? I don't think it would go well.
Right. Exactly. That's it. Okay. So now I want to branch into something that will help everybody build their confidence, because to stay motivated, you've got to be confident. So there's two aspects to that. I'll do one real quick, and then I want to get into one that's really important for everybody to grab. They're both important, but the first one they can grab very quickly. You've got to stay physically fit so your energy is at its highest level. And so one of the things you got to make sure you do is that you're eating properly. Mm-hmm. Number two, watch your drinking. If you drink alcohol, be careful about that. And number three, make sure you're exercising. Make sure you exercise. Do something every single day, even if it's just a 5-minute walk while you're taking a break. Remember, you asked me, Gary, what would I do? Well, even if you just went outside for a 5-minute walk and walked around the parking lot, that would be something.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So, Okay, now I'm looking at my screen. It just disappeared on me. Are we still there?
Yeah, Bruce, we're still here. Continue though, okay?
Okay. Okay, great. All right, no problem. So the next thing that, so make sure you're working on your energy every day. On my dream board, I've got a quote from Oprah, and it's very simple. She just says, everything in life is energy driven. And that was the quote. And I thought, I love it, because all it is making sure I've got great energy and that my customers see that. But also, when I feel up, they feel up, and it comes back to me. It's sort of like, I call it the chameleon effect. And the chameleon effect is what I send out, I get back. And when I get it back, I feel awesome. And then my confidence goes up. So does that make sense for that first part, Gary?
Absolutely. And I want to comment on that because you said energy. And, I thought of something real quick. I've always heard people that talk about a sale is nothing but a transfer of enthusiasm. And you can't have enthusiasm if you don't have energy, right?
Oh, well, that's a very good point. It's almost like energy and enthusiasm are on the same page in the dictionary, because they're the same thing, really.
Yeah, they are. They are. So that's great info, because you need to have energy in order to talk about your product. And so if that's a great point, I'm going to let you continue. I just wanted to relate that one thing though.
No, but you're so right. And that was the first thing that struck me. I think one of the people that I worked with in your company was Corey, and Corey's energy, he's sort of a relaxed, quiet guy, but he's still got that energy that he's driven. And of course, I mean, you're the perfect example of that. I know that I got a few more miles on me than you, but you're not a young guy anymore. So guess what? You're still got tons of energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, Gary, I'm just looking at my screen because you've disappeared. I just want to be sure that I'm still connected with you guys. Is that okay?
Yeah, we're still on voice. The same thing, it disconnected with me as well, but we still have audio, Bruce, so we're going to go ahead and continue.
Okay. All right, good. All right, so this is the second point, and I would say this could be the most important point of the whole day. So I've talked about confidence and how you can, the energy will help you build up your confidence. And there's always this debate, Gary. I don't know if you and I have ever talked about it, but I know that you feel the same way. You have to have this debate, and everybody on the call will relate to it. Results create confidence, or is it that confidence creates results? It's kind of it's kind of like a conundrum, and nobody knows the answer. I don't think there is an answer, but we do know that you can get more results by being more confident, and it will work in reverse. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about what you said, and I'm doing it vice versa, switching it back and forth and thinking about it. So results equals confidence, or does confidence equal results? It's the same thing, right? It's the same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like you keep those two balls in the air at one time. Now, so let me go to this big issue. And I would just ask everybody, and you're going to think, why has that got anything to do with motivation? But you'll see as I go through this. So here's the point. The point is that you've got to build up your daily routine. And what I mean by that is you have to be consistent. So when people come to me for coaching, when people go on our website, brucekeithresults.com, when they come to us for coaching, the first two things they ask for, number one is consistency. I want to be more consistent, Bruce. And number two, I want to be motivated. And the third thing they ask for is accountability, because I'm keeping them on the track. But those first two is consistency and motivation. Well, we talked about motivation quite a bit, but let's look at consistency and see how that will drive motivation. So here's a secret that I've learned. So the first thing everybody should do is write down the name of this book. That if you don't buy it, if you never buy another book, or if you never buy another audio book, buy this one. It's called The Power of Habit. It sounds real boring, but trust me, it's not. The Power of Habit. And the author is Charles Duhigg. D as in doctor, U, H as in Harold, I-G-G. You won't have any trouble finding it. It's a huge bestseller.
Cool.
So there's the first thing. Now, the reason I'm telling everybody this is because if you're going to build up a routine, then you'll be more consistent. If you're more consistent, you'll get more results. And if you get more results, you'll be able to deal with the ups and downs of the business. So I hope I didn't go too fast there. So think about that again. If you build up your routine, you'll be more consistent. If you're more consistent, then what goes with that is more results, and more results will help you be more confident, and you'll be more motivated all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
Okay, so let me tell you why the power of habit is the solution to everything. Because when everybody starts off, they start off as saying, I've got to get more self-discipline. When they come to me for coaching, they say, I've got to get my self-discipline under control. You know what? I didn't get out of bed on time. I hit the snooze button. I've got to fix that. Or I've got to stop eating jelly donuts. Or I've got to make sure that I practice my scripts. And I'm not doing it consistently, Bruce. How do I do that? How do I get more self-discipline? And I say to them, you've got to develop the habits. So what Charles Duhigg said in the book was, he said, forget about self-discipline. Throw it away. This is why I'm saying this is the best thing you may get out of today's call, everybody. Don't worry about self-discipline ever again. You create habits, and habits create routine. All that a routine is a series of habits. So let me give everybody an example. How many people on this call forgot to brush their teeth this morning? Put your hands up. So I always do that when I'm in a seminar, Gary, and nobody puts their hand up. Everybody laughs kind of nervously because nobody forgot to brush their teeth, for crying out loud. Everybody did it. Well, why didn't they forget?
It's a habit, Bruce.
It's a habit. It's automatic. And for example, we live in a very remote community on a beautiful lake, and there's a dirt road that we use to get to our place. And it's gorgeous. I mean, it's a beautiful place to be, and I do all my coaching from here, and then I drive out and do my seminars on the road. But when I pull into the driveway here, there's nobody in sight. There's literally only one house down the road about half a mile. That's it. But I turn on my turn indicator to turn left into my driveway. So Gary, back to that question about brushing teeth. Why do I put the turn indicator on? There's nobody around.
Right. It's a habit, Bruce.
It's a habit, right. So everybody, what you've got to do, what Charles Duhigg says, and by the way, when you get this book, whether you're a listener, so listen to the audio of it, or if you're an actual reader and you buy it, I don't care. But what he does is he tells story after story after story about people building up habits, and famous people like Michael Phelps, the swimmer, and people like that. Fascinating things about how habits created the routine. And everybody, when you have the routine, you don't need self-discipline, because think of it this way. Let's say that your daily schedule says, I'm going to do emails till 9 o'clock. Then I'm going to prospect from 9 till 10:30. And then I'm going to check in with my admin staff from 10:30 to 11. So there's the three things, right, Gary?
Right.
So now think about this, everybody. Think of your schedule like a high school class. I love this analogy. When the bell rang, you went to your first class. At 9 o'clock, when the next bell rang, you went to the math class. You didn't keep staying around in the English class. You went to the math class. And then at 10:30, when the bell rang again, you went to science class. You didn't think about it. Those were habits.
Right.
So what everybody needs to think about is to say, take my schedule, start creating habits. So I had a guy, for example, Gary, who kept hitting the snooze button at 6 o'clock in the morning, didn't get up till 6:45. And of course, his day was all screwed up by the time he got to work. Everything was behind. It was like starting off your day with one shoe untied. You never really felt right. So what we did was we created a habit where he had to move his alarm clock physically across the room. His name was Eli. So when Eli's his alarm goes off at 6 o'clock, the habit is get up and go over and turn it off. By the time he got to it, he didn't have to hit the snooze button. It was too late.
Right, right.
So one last wrap up on this. Sorry for interrupting, but I get so fired up about this because think about your habits like dominoes. You know when you have dominoes and you hit one and then it hits the next one and they fall and a big bunch of dominoes falls in order? That's what a routine looks like. And that's where when you do that, no one will throw you off track, number one, and your mental toughness and your motivation will stay at the highest level. Okay, I'm stopping. Thanks, Gary.
Bruce, that was such a fascinating analogy talking about the habits. And I was just, it was an aha moment for me. And I'm sure it was for a lot of other people. But, you know, that what you mentioned, you know, you said, who in this room forgot to brush their teeth? And of course, nobody raised their hand. And it's just habits when you're organized, when you have those habits every day, that equals success, right?
Right. And it doesn't, and that habits create routine, routine creates success. Now, here's the thing, everybody. With your success comes confidence, and with confidence comes motivation that I can do this. I can do it. And nothing's going to stop me. Nothing's going to stop me.
Right. Bruce, that's awesome stuff. I've got goosebumps right now. Let me ask you now, we're running out of time here, and I wanted to ask you our question. It's kind of my thing that I ask everybody that we have on the show. And it's the question of, what is the one thing that you wish you would have known in your earlier days that you would have known would have been the game changer for you? The one thing that you wish you would have done, the one thing that stands out in your mind that you can share that will help other people be more successful in sales and success in life?
Well, I'm thinking about that. The first, can I give you two answers?
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah.
Okay. The first one, everybody, is write your goals out every day. I've been doing that for probably 25 years now, but I wish I had done it since I was 20. So I would do that, get in the habit of writing your goals out every day so you never lose sight of why you're doing what you're doing. So that's one. The second one is a little bit more in depth, but it goes back to the self-discipline or understanding that you don't need self-discipline. So let me just share something with everybody real quick. And I don't mind sharing this because it's been such a long time, but it's a lesson that I could say it saved my life. Gary knows this, but I'm an alcoholic, so I don't drink alcohol, and I haven't drank alcohol for over 31 years now. But what I wish somebody had taught me was, Bruce, get in the habit of not being in a position where you need to drink alcohol. In other words, don't have any in the house, don't go into bars, don't hang around with other people that drink too much. So get rid of those habits and create good new habits. So so that stopped me from drinking, but it was a struggle. And what I'm saying to everybody on this call is, I'm not talking about whether you drink too much. I'm saying create good habits, replace your bad habits with good habits, and just pick a couple of things. One of them might be to have an accountability partner, or even have a coach like me that you check in with. I've got people I coach, they send me an email, a text, or a phone call every single day and tell me I'm up, or I'm starting prospecting, or I've done my role playing, or whatever, and create those habits. So that would be the thing that I would say, Gary, everybody should take away is understand the power of habits and buy that book, if you will, but regardless, create fabulous, strong habits to replace the ones that are getting in the way. And don't worry about self-discipline, okay?
That's good stuff, Bruce. That is awesome, awesome, awesome. I can't wait to post this on all of our social media and our user group so guys can use this info that you shared to help them stay motivated and help them be more successful. Now, Bruce, tell us how people can reach out to you. Tell us, either phone numbers or emails or your website, or just share some information in case some people want to get in contact.
Well, we'll make it really simple. My website is brucekeithresults.com, and results is a plural, so it's with an S on the end, brucekeithresults.com. And you can check out my coaching there, and or you can send me an email directly to bruce@brucekeithresults.com. I assure you, I will answer you. bruce@brucekeithresults.com. And if you're interested, I will do a free coaching session with you for 30 minutes. And I will help you set up a plan. I do this all the time. That's how we get coaching clients. But even if you don't join the coaching, it's okay. I will help you set up a plan. And after 30 minutes, you'll leave with some very strong answers as to how you can do more than what you're doing and how you can deal with some of the challenges you're facing. So bruce@brucekeithresults.com is the email, and the website is brucekeithresults.com. That's
Awesome.
it.
Awesome, Bruce. Awesome. So glad we were able to have you on the show today, Bruce. And I'm going to go ahead and end the recording, but I want you to stay on the phone because I want to talk to you afterwards. So we just want to say thank you so much for being on the show, Bruce. And we can't wait to have you on again. We got to have you on again because that was great info. But we want to have you on with another topic as well a little bit later. So thanks, Bruce, for being on the show. And thank you so much.
Oh, that's great. And good luck to everybody. Now, don't forget, everybody, you got 4 months to go in the year. We're recording this early in September. 4 months. Put a big charge on. And if I can help you do that, well, I know I can help you do it, then don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll show you some steps you can use. Okay?
Awesome,
Thanks,
Bruce.
Gary.
Thank you, Bruce.